So can a buyer back out? Well, listen, there are a lot of ways in a contract in Texas real estate where a buyer can back out. But today I'm going to talk about just a couple of those. The first one is your option period. So when you put a house under contract in the state of Texas, there is a section in the contract that talks about your earnest money and your option fee. Your option fee is a dollar amount, say $100, $200, $250. It's negotiable, but you might put in there a $100 option fee in order to be able to back out for so many days. So typically in our area, that's usually about 7 to 10 days. And what happens during that 7 to 10 days is we get inspections, and that's when buyers try to negotiate any repairs that might be necessary, or maybe they need to get some bids, or maybe during that time they're thinking, gosh, we want to replace the carpet. Let's get somebody over here to do measurements and get an idea of what it's going to cost so we can make sure that we can afford to do that while we're still in our option period. So your option period is a time where, as a buyer, you can back out for any reason. So as long as you back out during that timeline, whether it's 7 days, 10 days, whatever it says in the contract, as long as you terminate that contract within that timeline, then you would receive your earnest money back according to the contract, and that option fee, let's say it was $100, it is non-refundable. So the seller would get the option fee, you would get your earnest money back as long as you did everything according to the contract and backed out in a timely fashion. Another way that a buyer can back out is if your financing falls apart. So in the third-party financing addendum, which is a document that covers all of the information about your financing, if you have a lender, then there's an approval period in there, and it's so many days. So let's say that you have 21 days within that time frame on your third-party financing addendum to have your financing for your buyer, you as a buyer, to be approved for buyer approval. And so during that 21 days, you're still doing everything in the contract. You're doing your inspections, you get past your option period, you can't back out any longer just because you decide you don't like the house anymore. But you get to, let's say, day 19 of your 21 days, and you find out that you've lost your job, or your boss wants you to move to Timbuktu. Well, at that point, you would no longer, if your job literally required you to move away, you would no longer qualify for the loan because you wouldn't be living within a certain radius, which each lender and loan has different requirements on that. But you would have to live within a certain distance to make a commute possible in order to qualify for that loan. Or if you didn't have a job, obviously you don't make enough money to qualify for that loan any longer. So if your financing fell apart and you gave notice of that before that 21 days is up, then you can back out of that contract. And it does state that you should get your earnest money back. Your seller of that house that you're buying is not going to be very happy in that circumstance. And I will tell you, I have not had that happen very often. And typically when it does, it is a really, really bummer situation for everybody involved. But there are multiple ways that a buyer can back out of a contract. But a lot of those situations, we really don't come across that often. And when we do, we're all kind of scrambling to try to figure out, what is going on and how to make sure that we cover all of our bases within the confines of the legal terms of those documents in that contract, because we want to make sure that whoever's supposed to get that earnest money gets it. And if there's an option fee involved, obviously that person who is the seller who should receive that option fee is going to get to keep that money. So it just depends on the circumstances, how all of those situations play out. But can you back out as a buyer in Texas in a real estate transaction? Yes, you can. But the main way that you back out is just during your option period. If you can't negotiate with the seller on the repairs that are necessary, or maybe you just find out that the house is in too much trouble for you to deal with, there's too many repairs necessary, or maybe there's a problem that is one that you just personally cannot deal with. You just cannot take on a house that has that particular issue. If you do that within your option period, you can back out. You can just wake up and decide, this is not the house for me, and you can back out for any reason as long as it's within that time frame. So those are a couple ways that buyers have the potential to back out, but the main one is your option period. And we like it when buyers stick with their option period and stay in the contract. So I hope this helps. I hope you'll like and subscribe and share this if you think it would be helpful to somebody. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.